This dude literally became a copywriter, and within 11 months he was making $16,000 a month. Literally within just his first 12 months in the game.
I just didn't like a lot of like the instability, and I didn't like a lot of like the go, and to be like sometimes like 7-10 meetings a week. It's all on commission only. You're not paid for those. If you get very comfortable selling one kind of thing to one kind of personality, one kind of person, in one kind of scenario, like you're just gonna be eaten alive. You gotta be very
Part of actually why I wanted to chat with you, because you're like one of the very few that shortcutted that process more than I've ever seen anybody else do it. You know, it was like very, very quick. You know, obviously there's a lot of things that you had set up that helped you with that. And I think that we're gonna get into that, you know, but like the biggest thing I've taken away from even just our chat right now is,
if you want to like play with business owners, you have to communicate in a way like confidently, and just you have to develop yourself. You actually it's very funny to work with business owners. You actually have to develop yourself. I know that's such a freaking thing that people don't want to do, but you actually do, you know, but people don't want to do that. If you don't want to, then go work a job then. You know, it's a very selfish thing not to develop yourself.
that's the dark side of copywriting. For sure. Like at least the industry as it is today. There are so many people that, well, the copy gurus, and they promise no experience, no degree needed, no capital needed, no this needed, no this needed. That kind of a message kind of almost pulls a couple of people in here that are like looking for easy money.
You just start to like see more of like, you know, the big players, like, and we all know who they are, like who teach copywriting, but it's often just like courses, you buy them. There's not like really a lot of like involvement in actually like helping you develop the skill and like really develop this as like a business that you do. And that's when I came across.
So today we're here with Marcus Camenzuli, the one and only, the sales sensei. What else could we call you? Sales sensei, income ninja. This dude literally became a copywriter, and within 11 months he was making $16,000 a month. Literally within just his first 12 months in the game. He had some previous experience, but he is just absolutely dominating. His clients love him. They want to work with him forever. And I just knew I had to get you on this call and come chat with me, man, because you've got all the secrets. You're basically the sensei of the dojo these days, aren't you?
It's not sensei, it's chief.
Chief, that's right.
Man, it's to all of you.
Yeah, the copy chief. Marcus, the copy chief. Thanks so much for joining me, man. Appreciate it.
Dude, dude, you know, it's a pleasure. Looking forward to it, you know.
So tell me, like, okay, you got started last year, March, right? I think it was March, right? We were talking, you were like, okay, I want to get into this copywriting thing, kind of tired with sales. You got into copywriting. What was the first thing you noticed different about this career from your previous work?
Because I was in high ticket sales, like in the same industry, right? Often like information, coaching, masterminds, all that jazz. And, you know, when you're in sales, especially in any sales, but especially in this high ticket sales, like in this space where like it's the other side of our world here, like with marketing, copywriting, it's just the other arm of it. It's like it's like war, like, and literally they treat it like war. Like it's like literally like army, Armageddon, like, you know, like we're going to war every freaking day, right? And I liked that for like a couple years when you're like 21 and you're like listening to like 300 movie Spartan music when you're just about to cold call people and like acting like you're going into literal war because like you're just having a war internally, right? I liked that for a few years and I'd be like, ah, you know, right? But then I just got really tired of it. And I enjoyed the psychology and like all that kind of stuff, and even just like putting people into good products and stuff, but I just didn't like a lot of like the instability, and I didn't like a lot of like the go, and to be like sometimes like 7-10 meetings a week. It's all on commission only. You're not paid for those.
Damn.
And you know, you can be making some good money, but I mean, people in that space can attest, like some months are really good, some months are not so good, and it has nothing to do with you. And yeah, and sometimes the offers just disappear. Like they just stop working, and the whole sales team needs to be liquidated. So I didn't like that, but when I was in sales, I saw a lot of opportunities. Like I saw it even with the offers that would go down. It wasn't the sales fault. It was often an offer problem or like a messaging problem that just caused things to absolutely tank. And I was like, okay, so like what's something synergetic that I could get into with this? And that's kind of when I started to like look at the whole like just writing in general and the whole marketing side. I thought I was going to have to become a media buyer, and I was like, okay, like how do I get into like the marketing side? But then just it just fell in my lap, like the copywriting thing, and I just started to look into it more. Then you just start to like see more of like, you know, the big players, like, and we all know who they are, like who teach copywriting, but it's often just like courses, you buy them. There's not like really a lot of like involvement in actually like helping you develop the skill and like really develop this as like a business that you do. Um, and then that's when I came across like you, right? Because like, and it's like you keep it with like a small select group of people, and you're really involved with them. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what you need if you're somebody serious. Like and that's literally the support that they need to like make it in this and just actually have a good success rate, you know, which is very low sometimes in this industry, right? So now we're here, you know, like 11 months, I think. It's around like, I think 11 or even 15 months or so after we initially had our first conversation, you know, which you were like, you were like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was unsure because I only like to work with copywriters who are already making like established, like they already have a little bit of an established income as a copywriter, because that initial time of going from not having any income as a copywriter to even making, you know, your first $1,000 a month, that's the biggest leap for most people. And after that, it gets a lot easier. So it's really cool. You know, that's part of actually why I wanted to chat with you, because you're like one of the very few that shortcutted that process more than I've ever seen anybody else do it. You know, it was like very, very quick. And I think, you know, obviously there's a lot of things that you had set up that helped you with that. And I think that we're going to get into that, you know, but like the biggest thing I've taken away from even just our chat right now is you're very open to learning and trying lots of new things. You're very open to the experience of learning whatever is necessary to get the life you want. And I think a lot of people, they're just like, this is my path. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. You're like, yeah, okay, if media buying is necessary, I'll learn that. If copywriting is the thing, I'll learn that. If you know, video creative is the thing, I'll learn that. Like, you were just very, very receptive to whatever the industry needs. And I think people miss that. They don't realize, like, it's not so much about you deciding what you want to do. It's a lot more about what does the market actually want and what are they willing to pay a lot of money for. When you know what that is, it's a lot easier to get clarity on like where to go. Like even with copy, right? Like copy, there's different copy projects. It's like websites used to be a really big thing, but the money's not in websites. The market doesn't want lots of websites. They want, you know, what we've been focusing on over the last 2 years.
Yeah. And I think that's an important thing because like a lot of people even get stuck because they get very comfortable like doing one kind of thing. Um, and like if I relate it back to sales, if you get very comfortable selling one kind of thing to one kind of personality, one kind of person, in one kind of scenario, like you're just going to be eaten alive. You got to be very versatile, right? And that's like a quality that a successful entrepreneur really should have. And that's like a lot of like, if you want to get clients in this game, you will notice they're very scrappy and like they have those kind of qualities. You know, if we look at the clients you want to work with, for anybody who is watching this, they have those qualities and like they did whatever it had to, did whatever like it took, right? And so it is just like, yeah, like a lot of people get like comfortable. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm just gonna only focus on this, and often it's from like their comfort and stuff like that. But like it just, you have a goal. Like you can't be married to one way to get there. It's like an outcome, but it's not one path to get there. You just gotta be scrappy on the way, you know, and be able to willing to do it, you know. So
The other side of that though is jumping into whatever is feels like the next big thing, and then you actually never make progress either. So like, how did you find the balance between trying new things but also staying focused on what you needed to do to actually make the money?
well, I talk with people like you. I talk to people like you, man. If like, you know, obviously, if I would just bite at like whatever was coming across me, like, because I often would. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I got a million tabs open. Like to-do list is getting like crazy, right? And like I'm loading up my to-do list with like so many things. But I rely on people like you and like, you know, other people who have like been where I've been and done things like far beyond what I'm trying to do even right now. Um, to make sure like, yeah, like I'm taking the right actions, but I'm also like still looking around at my surroundings for the right things as well that are going to help you in support of those actions too, you know, which is like kind of vague, but like there's so much in there, and that's what you need though, you know.
Yeah, it does. It does help that you have a sales background too, because a lot of people that actually, it's interesting. Like I actually started in sales too. I think that's where we first actually had like we had a touch point like 4 years ago or something. Like we didn't really talk much, but I do remember we might have actually had an engagement within the team, a sales team, for like a couple weeks. And I remember because I was in sales, it was maybe even before that, 6 years ago maybe now. It's been a long time, but a while back, I got into copywriting. I didn't do anything with it. In 2017, I got in, I took a course and I did some projects and stuff. I didn't really do much in 2018, and then 2019 was the year I really, doubled down. But I took some sales coaching, and I was going to become a salesperson. And I remember I called like 250 people in one day. God, no after no after no after no, and I was just like, I don't care. I'm just gonna keep calling. I'm just gonna keep calling until whatever it takes, because I had that energy. And I was also in those teams where everybody's like standing on the desk and like screaming, and it's like, we will close deals today.
Yeah.
We will close deals. We will. You've seen those, right? Those you even sent me one the other day where it's like all those guys like screaming on the top of desks.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, and like there's literally teams like that. Like it's literally you are walking in, like you finish your eggs at like 8:55, like so wishing to your missus, yeah, no, just like I got a meeting, and you're popping into the Zoom room and like you got dudes screaming and it's like and when they're all screaming, they're all on mute, they're all canceling each other out, so it's like everybody's screaming and you kind of hear like muffled 18 different combined voices, but you don't really hear anything either because they're all canceling each other out. And the owners are just waiting for them to be done, It's like just ridiculous.
Yeah, so I started there, I thought I'm going to do the sales thing because I was sold it as a business opportunity, right? I forgot about copywriting for that time. And then it wasn't working for me. I was probably just not working with the right businesses. Looking back, like now, knowing what I know today, I wasn't, it was working with people that weren't providing anything I could actually, there's some people that say you can close any deal or whatever. I didn't have enough experience to close those kinds of people. They were way too cold, for a beginner like me, right? So if I was able to close them, maybe in a different life or whatever, but anyway, I thought, all right, I'll get into copywriting. And most copywriters are like introverted. That's like kind of what the appeal to the industry. I found that this is like the big thing, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to talk to people. I want to sit and hide away behind my desk and work. And I actually remember there was a moment I was like, that's my opportunity because I've got sales training. I'm comfortable to talk to people. I don't mind being extroverted or social if it's necessary. I'll do what it takes, kind of like you, like I'm willing to. And I thought this will be my opportunity because everyone else is an introvert. So I'll be the one that has the sales skills and I'll get the clients. It worked. I think it worked for me because of that. And I think that now, we know where we are today, it's like it's an absolute bare minimum to be social in our industry.
Yeah. You have to, even just to like put yourself into opportunities that nobody else will never see happen. And even just to work with your clients, like it's 100% a thing. And I think people do get kind of locked into and they put that identity on themselves. It's okay to be introverted, but like to label yourself as an introvert as a reason of like, I'm not going to develop social skills. I'm just going to like give my literally as a consequence of that, give my clients millions of mixed signals and not have clear expectations and like even not have a positive experience working with you. That's just very like irresponsible and like inconsiderate, really. Like it's really a thing to develop, and because half the time you want to make a good like working experience for them, and like they just because if you don't have those skills, you're going to create more worries for them, even though you're doing all the work. Like they don't really know. Well, like it's like you're sending the emails, like you're creating automations, you're doing like all that jazz, but like if you're just like if you're not like really communicating, or when you do communicate, you're like cold and you're not really like receptive, and like you think what you're saying to them is exactly what they're hearing, but it's not. You're going to create a whole lot of messes, and like they're not going to be happy with it. And I've seen it quite a lot, and like it's like you have to really develop those like skills to ensure like they are well taken care of in that, and like what you're communicating is actually like receptive on the other side, because otherwise like they have enough to deal with. They kind of hire. The only reason like a lot of people hire a CMO is because they need to subsidize the thinking from them onto somebody else, and that CMO has to really like communicate with the client really well, Otherwise, if they don't, then they're still going to be worrying about it. It's their business. So they really have to like keep that, like well contained. It's the same thing if you're doing emails, like this, like your communication is 100% the thing. And even with just like getting clients as well, like there's a way to really behave with just the avatar of like of who you want as a client, as a business owner. And it's really selling yourself short not to develop that. It's not the funnest thing, but you don't have to use that skill a lot, and it's a skill you need just to succeed in life, if I'm being honest. Which really, if you boil it down, is like people can just read how to win friends and influence people, and like just how to be a good human and communicate like a normal one, and just do that will cover so much of the bases, to be honest. So
Yeah, in my experience with sales, I didn't spend that much time on developing those skills. I felt like I developed them over time, just intentionally listening to people, engaging with people. What did you do to become a better, I don't know, a communicator, I guess you could say? Like, how did you become a better communicator with your clients and come across as very human? Because that's something I definitely would say that you had going for you when you were talking with clients. I mean, you talk to me like that too. It's so very human. Sometimes not human. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense what you're saying. But when when you are talking English and you're talking normally to me, then it's like this is like, oh yeah, this is very like, it sounds very casual, in a good way, right? It's not like casual disrespect. It's just fun, And I think that to me really does stand out, because everybody else is trying to sound like super polished and dear client, please receive my emails with care and share with me any feedback you may have. Kind regards. You're like, yo, here's the emails I promised you. I got you, bro.
that was when I was DeMarcus, man. That's another story for another interview. No, but no, I think that comes down to like it really just I mean, I don't know. I think it's a bunch of things, but I mean, I think I like picked up that a lot, because I mean, even before I became a copywriter, I spent like 30 grand on my own like education and like just training for sales, like USD, and I'm Canadian, so that's like 40 grand, and like it's for a Canadian, right? Even though we make USD, we count our expenses in Canadian. It's like, oh no, that's a lot. Even though we're making USD, it's freaking like, But no, it's like I did that, and I was around like a lot of like the best of the best that you could ever like ever meet in like the sales influence communication world. And one who's still my client now, Eli Wild. He has a really amazing business partner, Eli Sanchez, as well. And those two are like some of the best influential communicators you will ever meet. And like what we're like kind of talking about is like what they like often talk about. And just by osmosis of being around them, you just kind of pick up a lot of things just by osmosis, It's stuff you don't learn in courses. It's stuff like, honestly, a lot of people just haven't seen unless they've been around environments like that or trained with those guys personally. Because like I was on their sales team for a while too. That's how they became my first client, because I was selling for them after I was their customer, which is like a very interesting thing. But yeah, just like we were training with them every day and stuff. And like when you're around, just because they're business people too, and they get the fact that business owners themselves, they all of them have communication as a very like skill. Like they have communication skills, right? And if you want to like play with business owners, you have to communicate in a way like confidently and just like clearly, and you have to like be a cool person to speak to. You have to develop yourself. You actually it's very funny to work with business owners. You actually have to develop yourself. I know that's such a freaking thing that people don't want to do, but you do, but people don't want to do that. But they have to. If you don't want to, then then don't do this, like, because they're your clients. Like, yeah, or go get a job, right? Like, I mean, the fact that you have to develop yourself to work with brilliant people, some who are, yeah, of course, we all have those kind of people, right? They all exist everywhere. But like the fact that you have to just develop yourself, like just develop yourself to work with them. I get it's not comfortable, but like go work a job then. It's a very selfish thing not to develop yourself,
Yeah, it's funny because this whole idea of like the fact that we even have to talk about convincing somebody to work on themselves just shows the state of entitlement, I think, that most people show up as a copywriter in.
Yeah, and that's what you see as with copywriters as well. Like they buy lots of courses. We've seen a lot of them. They buy lots of courses, tons, and they pay for like the bit, like so much support and everything, but that's still missing. It's like, yeah, it's like they want people to do it for them, right? And like to a degree, like you can handhold them, but you can't do it for them, and you can't have the like just want to, I don't know, in a way become the best version of yourself, and if that means developing yourself in a way that you have to communicate with business owners, like,
Yeah. That's the dark side, bro. That's the dark side of copywriting for sure. Like at least the industry as it is today, because there are so many people that, well, the copy gurus and whoever else, they promise no experience, no degree needed, no capital needed, no this needed, no this needed. Would you say that it's attracting people that don't want to do anything instead of actually, I don't know, because like I also kind of got into it because I like the benefits of it, But at the same time, I feel like that kind of a message, no skill, no experience needed, no degree needed, no capital needed, it kind of almost pulls a couple of people in here that are like looking for easy money. I mean, I've definitely crossed paths with quite a few copywriters like that, and it's like, yeah. What's your thought on that?
it's the same thing, man. It's what you see. Like, it's very funny. Like, people get, it's like this industry was biz-opt, and now you have a lot of biz-opt writers, and it's the same thing. A lot of them were talked to in a way and promised things that often, if you have a biz-opt client, you're like some, I don't like to do that, where like you have those wrong expectations and you make it seem like they can just be a degenerate and make great money working with fantastic people as a copywriter, right? Like, but that's what they think. They think that they can like not take care of themselves, not look after themselves, and they'll be able to just like, yeah, like, chill and just send Google Docs and not think strategically and not better themselves. You know what I mean? Right? Like, they do think that. I akin to it very much like the trading industry. Like, people get biz opt into that industry. Like, oh yeah, like 1 hour per day, don't talk to nobody, no boss, nobody's got your balls, nothing. You know what I mean? Like, nothing like that at all. But like I know like successful traders. Like, I know like actually the ones, and often they're not the ones you see anywhere. Like, they're very private, and like they operate at a completely different level to all of that. Like, they actually take care of themselves. They're actually, even though they don't have to communicate, you would think like they're a public speaker or something, because they work on themselves. They know a lot of things, like just in general. They're doing other businesses as well. So that goes into the fact of like, a lot of copywriters, they want to stick into a silo. They don't want to learn other skill sets or just other things that could better them as a copywriter and be more useful to their client, even just as a strategic thinker. It's like the same thing, they just like kind of neglect that. They're just in a silo. They think very short term, and just, I don't know. It still kind of boggles my mind, but it makes it easy for the right person who really wants to succeed and wants to succeed. It does make it easier.
Yeah, it does. The 1% of copywriters, that 1% versus the 99%. So it's the same in our industry as the trading industry. It's like the 1% operates completely differently to every single other copywriter. And we were actually talking about this privately, like I think it was yesterday or the day before, just about how, all the people, like literally all the people that I'm interviewing, everything that they all have in common is that they don't need somebody to hold their hand through every single minor detail. They need help. When they need help, they reach out. Like whenever you need help, you always message me very clearly that you want me to, give you a perspective on something. So when you do actually need help, you raise your hand pretty quickly, but you just get on with it. And I think a lot of people don't get on with it, and they make excuses. I mean, sure, okay, overthinking. Oh, what is it? There's so much I have to think about. There's so many different things to do. I also overthink. I'm a big thinker. I lived in my head for most of my life. Like only recently I got into fitness, and I'm trying to like get out of my head a bit more. But I always lived in my head. So I was also overthinking, but I still took action, even though I was thinking so much, and it's like, I'm not seeing that enough. And it's actually frustrating. It is actually frustrating because, well, first of all, it means that there's so much more opportunity, because if 99% of people need hand-holding, they're not really even competition. Imagine if you don't need hand-holding, right? So first of all, like that, you have no competition, because most people are operating from this place where they just kind of expect it all to fall into their lap. Like, yeah, $10,000 is what everybody's hearing in the industry. They've almost been like acclimatized to that statement, like, oh yeah, like 10K sounds so normal, it's so easy. And it's like, well, is it actually So easy, relatively. There's a lot of countries that would be happy with 3K a month. I mean, there's a copywriter in Italy I coach. He got to 5K and he was telling me he makes more than some doctors that went to medical school for like 10 years. Like, your perspective on this is like, these guys worked 16 hours a day or 15 hours. They studied for years and years and years. And they're making half the income that this guy makes while traveling Bali and Thailand and floating around Europe on his laptop. Like, this is this is what's in store if you actually do it properly. And I just want to bring us back to what you were saying previously. You mentioned, that you basically you said something like, I just was learning everything, and I got my client from my previous sales role, and we were talking about like the expectation that people have, like from BizOp and trading, like how, the traders, they get into the industry thinking it's to be easy money, and same with some copywriters. But it's like, yes, but also you can actually make crazy money as a copywriter. So it's not just a BizOp thing, like it's an actual legit opportunity, even though people come into it entitled. If you actually have the right attitude, which I want to ask you about how you build that, but when you have the right attitude, you actually can make crazy money. Like you went from literally $0 as a copywriter to $16,000 a month within less than 12 months. And that's insane. Zero previous experience as a copywriter. It's insane. But it's possible. And you're not the only person that I've worked with that's done that, because there's those traits, right, that we've been talking about that actually help you get there.
I think a big thing that goes into that is like, and I'm not going to just speak from my own experience. Like when you're like in commission only sales in the online industry where it's heavily volatile, and sometimes people are paying I was on an offer. People are paying $1,000 just to get somebody on the phone with me, and I know that, and I got somebody on their line who doesn't know me, doesn't trust me. They're coming in. They're maybe coming in with a couple business partners as well. I got a sales manager breathing down me. I got media buying teams looking at all the sales rep numbers, looking at who's the most profitable. Business owner as well. Like we're all, and like every rep is like kind of competing with each other. And at the same time, we're seeing sales reps like even leave the Slack channels because they weren't performing. And then you look at like how you actually stay alive and keep your head over water. It's like you have to perform. And so a lot of like you performing comes before you even have to perform. And so you just really start to treat every single hour of your day like it's like a diamond, like for just improving and keeping that saw as sharp as possible. And that once that's on, I had trouble adjusting to that. I was like, wow, this is very intense, but like I didn't have any. I wanted to do it, so I did it, and that just learned to be like that in everything. I just took that like literally with everything. So like. And I think that's a reason why you'll see a lot of people, they say like a lot of like successful entrepreneurs, like they like have a sales background, and I think that's a big reason why, because they really start to like kind of have that. But back to what I was saying, when I took that to copywriting, like when I just treated I wouldn't just like loaf around and like treat myself like very like lazily or like not be serious about what I'm trying to do here. Like, no, like I'm trying to like learn a very valuable skill, and like I want to be the best I can at it. And I can't act like I have all the time in the world. Like I can't. Like I want to go get a client. I want to get really good at this. I want to do it in a reasonable time frame. I have to treat every hour like that. So like that's why like I just like I was bugging you all the time asking questions. Like I was like trying to get clarity. I was like I wasn't trying to take the lazy way out with writing. Like I wasn't just trying to swipe stuff and change words around. Like I've seen people do that. Like I've seen people like submit copy, and it's like, this looks very similar to something else I read. You just they just like really like just swiped the whole thing. Like that's not going to make you better. Like you're not getting better at every piece of what you're writing. You're not getting better as a marketer like doing that. I was like, okay, like what are like the things, like what are things that I'm not saying like make your life more difficult than it has to be, but like what are the hard things that are necessary that other people just don't do that you have to do? Like let me just do as much of that as I can. You know what I mean? That's why I just threw myself in the deep end with that, because like you have to do that to survive like as a salesperson. You have to develop yourself like crazy. And I just found when I took that towards like copywriting, like slowly bit by bit, like I remember when I was messaging you earlier, I was like, man, I have no idea what you're talking about with these like awareness sequences and like how this works with like all these things. Like what the heck are you talking? Like this makes no freaking sense. Like like, right? But like, I was like, I'm gonna, can't just like, oh, I don't understand. Okay, I'm not gonna like, a lot of people do that. I don't understand it. I'm not gonna deal with it. No, I was just gonna go until I freaking had to, because if I didn't do that when I was in my previous role, it's gonna bite you, and I would have to like try to find something else, and that's very stressful, right? And it was like that it was like that in everything with clients. Like if I didn't understand something, or if I didn't know how to do something, I was gonna figure it out. Like, or if they needed help with something, even if it wasn't in the scope, like it's their success is my success. I'm gonna figure it out. And it was just like literally with everything. I just, and if I look at anybody else that like is making amazing money and is working with amazing clients as a copywriter, or a marketer, whatever, they have those qualities, and I know some of them, and I talk with them, and like instantly we start to like just talk, and like I know they get it, and that's not sexy, that's not fun, but it will allow you to do amazing things, and soon enough, when you understand the value of that and you're able to practice that as like a service provider in this, you will learn to love it because it gets results. It just operating that way just gets results. Like you just are serious about what you do. You just like you just take everything much more seriously. It's so easy to like just write your emails for a client last minute and just hand them in and not get them reviewed, or not review them, or not give them time to breathe before you look at them again. It's easy to do that. Right? But like those are the things that people do, and then then they have bad things happen to them though. I could go on and on, right? But when I think back, like that's when we talk with people in the dojo, right, who need help, right? They get stuck or something. It often comes back to these things. It just comes back to like really getting serious, and having that kind of attitude. They kind of know what to do. They just don't want to do it, or maybe they kind of know that's probably something they need to do, but they're trying to think of other things that they could do and not do that to still get the result or something.
Well,
But I digress.
I think that of the 500 copywriters I've worked with, the ones that ask the questions, even that feel stupid, that they might feel as stupid questions, there's no real stupid question, but they feel like it's stupid. It's an ego thing, in my experience. It's an ego thing. It's like, I don't want to look stupid in front of these people. I don't want to look like I don't know something in front of my coach. I don't want to look like I'm not competent. Maybe it's a bit of self-esteem as well, but most of the time it's an ego thing. It's like, oh, I got this. I don't need to ask somebody for help. I don't want to look like I need help, And it's like you said, when you didn't understand something, you go for it, right? Whereas some people, they don't understand something and they don't ask any questions. And, well, that's their choice, right? I mean, I didn't always ask coaches I hired questions either. Like sometimes I hired a coach, I just wanted to know what they did, and I would just learn from them what they did. But when you're working with somebody that you work with one-on-one, it is kind of important to get feedback. That's like the best part of the one-on-one experience, is you get some feedback. Whereas just coaching where you buy a program, it's more about the information maybe, or the specialized content that they have. But one-on-one coaching, 100%, like you got to ask the stupid questions, and you really did that a lot. You really asked all the good questions that, people, I do feel like that might be a big part of why you were able to get going so quickly, because I think some copywriters I've worked with who have been in the game 5 years, almost embarrassed that they have to ask a question that that like, oh, I should know that I've been in the game 5 years. Whereas you had no experience before. The context was like, yo, I'm not supposed to know. I have no idea. I don't know anything. So I'm just going to ask you everything possible.
It's kind of like a hall pass. Like, look, I'm not stupid. You can't look at me as stupid. So it's kind of maybe like that too. But I think the thing too, even when I was in sales, like a lot of times the problems, it's like, everyone's like, what's wrong? How do we figure this out? Like, what is wrong here? Somebody tell me, look at this and tell me what is wrong here. It would often come back to just something somebody didn't want to ask, or something somebody didn't want to bring up. Like, oh, that could be is that the problem? Or out of fear of like somebody saying like, oh, that's not the freaking problem, you dunce. No, like, what do you think this is? Like, right? Like they have that fear. And I saw that enough. It was like, oh, it's actually just something so simple. Like, right? Like that, why that is like, I was like, there really is no stupid question. If there is, and oftentimes, like, even no matter what level you're at, like, I think, and I personally know, like, cause just from operating with like clients who operate at a high level, like they want you to ask questions. They want that kind of thing, because it doesn't help anybody to keep them to yourself. And honestly, and I've networked with people in this space that they kind of like make fun of that, like, oh yeah, they kind of will like kind of think themselves like out of insecurity, like, oh yeah, why are you asking that question? You don't want to be friends with those freaking people. Like, you don't. They're not worth it. So like the opinion of them like giving that to you, like, you literally lose nothing. Even if you do ask a question and they're like that, like, it's such a loser kind of thing to do anyways, so it's nothing to be scared of. But I think copywriters really think way too much. The people, they think that other people think about them and what their opinion of them, like, way too much. Like, when you're in sales, you learn very quickly that nobody actually gives a freaking crap about you, and that's very relieving, and they actually are very delighted when you show interest in them, and that you realize that's all they're thinking about anyways.
It reminds me of this illustration back when I was writing email copy for Dan Locke. Back a while back, I was writing his emails, and they were making a lot of money for for Dan, and it was a great experience working with his team. And in the beginning, I had like crazy imposter syndrome. I was really uncomfortable asking questions and looking stupid. Like, I've been through the exact same thing. Like, I'm saying people have an ego. Like, I went through that too. I also had an ego, and I was very nervous about looking stupid in front of their team, because they're a big team. They were making crazy amounts of money back then. I don't know what they're up to now, but they were dominating. They were like the main, I guess, influencer for the business opportunity space. It was huge. They had a huge company. So I was busy writing their emails, and then I remember I don't remember the exact details, but I screwed up somewhere. I made a blunder. I don't think it affected us too much, but it wasn't a good one. It was like, I got the wrong emails at the wrong time. The message wasn't accurate, that we had to redo them, and all this, like 2 days extra work or something. And the copy chief told me, like, why didn't you just ask? Why didn't you just ask for more information? Like, you never asked anything. You're just quiet. You just said, yes, I'll go do it. Because I thought I was being a good copywriter by just trying to figure it out. I was being resourceful. Because other people say, like, oh, you could be resourceful, right? So I was like, oh, I got to be resourceful. I don't want to irritate the client. This is stupid, right? It's like always doing that. I got to be resourceful. I don't want to look like I need too much. I don't want to burden my clients with my stuff. I just want to deliver. But it worked the opposite way, because I delivered like not what they wanted, right? So he's like, why didn't you just ask? And I said, well, I didn't want to, I wanted to be resourceful and stuff. And he's like, all right, I'm going to tell you an illustration. And this was a really good one for me. Like, this helped me move past that permanently. After this, I never had issues with asking questions again. He talked about this army illustration. He's like, imagine you're a general and you have your troops, you have your men that you're responsible for. And your commander tells you, or the higher ups tell you, you're going into enemy territory. It's going to be extremely dangerous. It's a life or death mission. Like, you got to do this correctly. We want you to go into enemy territory. And that's the instructions that they give you. And that's it. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, sir. I mean, like, I'll go into, let's go. No, you're going to say, okay, great. It sounds good. I'm ready to serve, or I'm ready to do that. Yes, sir. Where are they? What's the terrain like? What's the mission objective? How do we protect the men? How are we getting back alive? Like, where's the position? What's everything? You're going to want to know every single thing. And if there's a piece missing from the strategy, you're going to ask for details on it. You're going to do your due diligence, because you want to make sure you do it properly. Because lives are at stake, because these men are trusting you with their lives. So yeah, you look stupid for 5 seconds or 1 minute because you asked them to repeat themselves about something that seems obvious. You look stupid, but no one dies. So what's more important to you, your ego or these lives? And it's like, boom. It's very similar. Yeah, it's not life and death, but it's like, what's more important, your ego for 1 minute, where you feel like you're a little bit stupid because you asked a question that everybody's probably on the same page about, maybe, that you're not, or getting the results for the client and like really serving them and giving them the best experience. And I found, like, many times, like, I had some really good clients that I used to work with, and I came in as the expert. I came in as the pro. And they'd ask me, like, what should we do in this situation? And I often say, I don't know. I haven't dealt with this before, right? Like, I don't actually know what to do here. Like, this is a very unique situation. Like, or they'll mention some terminology in marketing I just haven't really been exposed to. And in the past, I would be like, yeah, And now I'm like, no, actually, I don't know what that means. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, people use different terminology. So, for example, like email sequence, email campaign, email promotion. When you say you want an email campaign, like, what do you mean by that? Like, let's get on the
Campaign,
same page.
yeah.
What exactly?
Like that's it can mean so many things, man.
What is a campaign? So like, oh, that's so stupid. If you ask, oh, what's a campaign? What do you mean by campaign? Then they're going to think you're not an expert. That's not how it works. If you're just genuinely like, what do you mean when you say campaign? Because I have a different. So anyway, that was just a really great moment for me. It really changed my perspective on asking questions. And the right people do appreciate it. Actually, it comes across as you just want to make sure you're doing the right thing. You want to do your job properly.
Yeah, and like you also show like you don't have an ego, which a lot of people have an ego. And honestly, the most relieving thing and refreshing thing, at least for me, and I know like at least for a lot of other people, is like when you see somebody else doesn't have an ego and they are showing that and they're not ashamed of it. It lowers everybody else's guards a lot, you know? And then all of a sudden, it's kind of like you pop the balloon in the room. Everybody can relax more. And even I've had that too. And often it's a way to like, you can lead with that. Like I've had that a lot of times too. Like everyone's like, all perfect, like T's crossed, I's buttoned. Like nobody's asking nothing. Like, oh, we're all perfect. Just like marching, everyone doing their orders. And like, but everybody's kind of like they're like, but like nobody's really saying anything, and then you like lead with that, and like all of a sudden now it's a much more open environment too, which I think like for anybody if they are a copywriter, like that's very important to like lead with as well. Like if you want to like grow into something else, like if you want to grow into like management or whatever, like or anything. And just grow your career. Those are like skills to have, and even like that. Those are skills like even just like that. It is a skill. Like, there's a lot of skills around that too. Like it's going back to the thing of like just like communicating with the client. Like those are things like clients absolutely love because you are saving so much crap from them that was otherwise just created from just chaotic things going on from stuff happening like that. You know, right? There's a lot of stories I could tell with that, but like, yeah, I know 100% for a fact, like it's like just people really appreciate that, you know, it's huge.
Even in the sales process, right? I mean, when you're talking with a client
The sales process, let's talk about that. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Literally.
Yeah. So you ask certain questions on the sales call and some people think, oh, that's a stupid question to ask. But it's like, no, you don't know.
How do you know it's a stupid question? Like, how the heck do you know it's a stupid question?
Yeah, like you don't know anything about their business yet. So people are like, oh, what should I charge? That's like the question I get quite a lot. It's like, oh, what should I charge? And it's like, I want to know a couple things about their business first. And it's not a list of things. It's not like, oh, I want this and this and this and this and this. I mean, yeah, there's certain things I have in mind, but like I'm on a sales call for me. I'm asking people, what's your goal? Like, what do you want to do? How do I fit into that? Like, especially if they're a pretty established business, they have a pretty good idea what they want from you. The good clients, they kind of know, they have a game plan. Like, I've been a business owner for a few years now, like where I'm not just a solo dude anymore. Like, I have a team, right? And I know when I hire people, I know what I want from them. I already have a plan. I already have like, yeah, right? Yeah. I like, oh, let me just hire someone. I don't know why, but let me just hire someone, right? Yeah. So it's like, I know what I want. I know how they fit into that. I know what I want to pay for that. I know what results I'm looking for. I know how they're part of the team. It's like, it's feeding my vision. And I'm just speaking for myself, but all the clients I've ever worked with, they were great clients to work with. They were pretty much on the same page. It's like, you don't hire somebody unless you know what you want to work with them for. So a lot of copywriters going in thinking like they can convince a business owner that the business owner needs them. It's like, it doesn't ever work that way. Nobody ever hires because you just talked to them on Facebook and said like, oh yeah. Let me, you don't know that you need this, but let me sell you on a $5,000 a month retainer deal. Like, you don't know you need this yet, but you will know. It's like, no, it's not going to happen, right? So for me, yeah, I hired people because I know exactly what I want. And so when I'm on a sales call, I just ask them. I'm like, what you working on? Like, what's the goal for the next few months? Like, what's the plan? You know? And then they're like, oh, well, we're running a webinar. We're integrating email into the webinar sequence. And we're building a webinar sequence for email to promote and like get more leads to buy. And our webinar sequence in the email side is not so good. Boom. I've already got like so much information. I can be like, okay, And do you have a copywriter that's already writing the welcome sequence, or like somebody that's setting up the tech? Like, how do I fit in to help you with that? And then they're like, well, we actually don't have a copywriter for this. We have a copywriter that wrote the webinar, but we need somebody to help write the emails. Just an example, right? I'm like, okay. And okay. And then I kind of like ask a bit more, like, tell me a bit about the email list, like what, and it's like within 5-10 minutes, I actually have pretty clear idea, like what they want, why they want it, when they want it, who's necessary for the role, if it's just me or if there's other people involved too. I don't know if I said when, but when, as soon, like the priority level, and like if this person's ready to actually make a decision. And it's like, there's no sales script for that. I just genuinely want to know those answers. So I think it's the same thing. It's like, yeah, ego, by asking stupid questions, also bites your ass in the sales process if you're scared of asking questions, because you don't ask the real questions.
Yeah.
You don't ask the real questions. You go into some stupid script.
Yeah. Yeah. And like usually the ego, I think it often comes like it's really just because, well, they don't want to look stupid, but why do they not want to look stupid? It's because they don't want to some concoction in their head thinks like, if I look stupid, then all these things are going to happen and I'm going to lose the client or something. Right. And, that this doesn't happen. Right. But like, if you didn't need the client, oftentimes, like imagine you didn't need the client, like if you didn't need anything, you would just you would ask whatever you want. You wouldn't care what the heck they think, because if you lost it, you don't care, right? You're just doing what you need to do, right? And
well, you care, but you wouldn't be like financially, you wouldn't be in pain from it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you still don't want to look stupid, right? But if it means you have to like risk maybe the client thinking that for like a couple of seconds, but like you're gonna cut through that a lot more because you want to actually do what you need to do. And that's a skill to build. Like it's really just like realizing like just not to think of like your own needs in this situation, even though it's really hard not to, right? You just got to think about the client's needs. And that's like I learned that in sales. It's a thing. Like the less you're focused on yourself, the better. Because if you're in your head, you're dead. That was a whole saying that they always like. I would always like.
Oh, if you're in your head, you're dead. I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, that was one like I would always like keep. I would like put that on my monitor and like freaking like reading it before. Okay, let him into the room now. You kind of thing, right? But it was literally a thing. Yeah, and like in everything, I think as you operate as a service provider, like that's very valuable because like. Then you're not as scared to ask the questions. You're not as scared to look stupid. And like even if you do look stupid you're focused, you're locked in, like you're actually like locked in on getting them the result. And you're just like a powerhouse, like because like you're not in your head and it's not like causing you to like just do stupid crap that like is gonna mess you up, There's a lot of this just the general operating system and like performance side of it. I think just being like in this space that can really help people like do really well. I had it walking in and I had to build the writing skill, but I just went all in on that, and you really helped me rapidly build that. And like you combine the two, like I mean, if you're not afraid to take action too, like I mean, the things will fall into place, right? Because even when you're in the sales process, even before you even get a call booked, and you're just like networking with people that are around business owners or business owners themselves. Like you're operating from the right frame of mind, and like that energy is really felt, and they love that, So
it's like it's not mindset. It's like you said, it's like an operating system, like an approach to growing yourself and growing your copywriting business, and it's like the sales part of things. It's interesting because it's like this in every part, but like the sales part, you get a lot of people, and there's obviously a lot of sales tactics you could learn and strategy, and it's a whole rabbit hole that a lot of people could go down. But what we've talked about is, just for everyone listening, I want to make sure that you get this, you write it down or something. It's like, it's not so much about what to say. Yeah, sure, it's about how to say it. It's not about that. It's about the frame of mind when you enter the call. It's about what you're thinking about, and you're not in your head, and you're just genuinely asking questions about the mission. And that's when you're asking questions about the mission, you're like on the same page already. It's like you're sitting next, or it's like you're standing next to each other as a team already on the sales call. You're already a team. Like, all right, here we are. What's our plan? Like, as if you're already working together. And it's like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do it? Let's do it. And then boom, close, deal, $bazillion per month income, success stories everywhere. Awards, amazing. I want to ask you a little bit about, I'm sure that everybody's wondering, how the hell did you go from 0 to 16K a month? I'm sure that they're asking like, yeah, okay, you have a great approach, a great attitude. You had some previous background in sales in the same industry, so you could like make a very, very smooth transition. It wasn't as rigid as going from a job with zero connections. But 16K is still a lot. Maybe you got one client from the say, like going from sales, like you said, you went from a customer to the sales guy, and then you became their copywriter. So like you develop that relationship into a copywriting relationship. A lot of people can do that, by the way. It's a really good tip. Like don't just think of outreach. Think of like within your world. Like my very first client I was previously a buyer of their product, and I leveraged that in a testimonial. I sent them a testimonial to get their attention and showed appreciation. And as part of my appreciation, I'd offered to do some copy for them as a thank you for how amazing their product was, and they received that, and they're like, yeah, absolutely. And that's how I got my first big project, is through that process. But I digress. What did you do? Like, give us a little bit of an overview of the progression from 0 to 16K a month, please.
Well, that's what it started, right? I love that kind of process because literally, because then if you were to like do it like that, or like you don't have to, like I started working with that client because I bought their $4,000 thing, couldn't even finish the whole thing. I couldn't finish the whole payment plan. And I was like, man, I really want to finish the course. Like, I really want to. It's really good. I love it. I don't have, can I like sell for you guys? And like, I knew somebody on the team, and then like, just made sense. And I was like but the thing is too, like when we were having the Zoom calls, the coaching calls, I was super active in the Zoom. They could tell I was just, oh yeah, I can't finish it. I want to sell for you. I want a job. They had saw everything. Like I was like a raving fan. I just like love what they were doing and like really appreciated it. It's like, heck yeah. Like what people understand is like the business owner, like literally it's their baby. Like you don't think they want people in their business that care as much as their baby as much as they do. Like I'm not a father yet, but I know like when people do have kids, like it completely changes the way they look at life because they're way focused less on themselves and now on their kids. But I'm saying with their business, they have like the same thing with their business. It's like that's all they care about, like literally. And so if you show that, then that's how you can just work with like that's the most fun clients to work with too, But I digress. Like it kind of started like that, and we didn't do anything crazy. They didn't need a lot when we transitioned, but like while I was selling for them, then I was poking around, and a lot of the email stuff, a lot of the marketing stuff, like I didn't think that way before. I never thought in that way. I didn't have that kind of strategic thinking, and you were helping me like look around and things. And it's like, okay, I'm starting to get it now, right? And I would suggest things like, hey, I wrote these like guys for you, right? And I was like, and when I wrote them some samples. They didn't really go anywhere, but I was still selling. And then I just kept looking around, and like I was just literally caring about the business. Like what are areas of their business could email drive the needle forward? And I had some ideas, and business partner of my client loved it. We got on the call, and then it just happened from there. And they were the most supportive thing ever because like they knew the right person was in the seat, like, and I would do a great job with it and all that jazz. But we didn't agree on anything like crazy. But I just like put my head down for like 6 months, just really delivered for them. And then even in the meantime, that's a major freaking key, right? You have to do that with any new client, and not overextend yourself. But even at that time, it was my first client. Like I didn't really have a lot of wins to go off of. I didn't have a lot of social proof or anything, but I was going to do whatever like it took. Like, and I just decided, okay, like I'm going to just go on Fiverr. And I was just slamming out like, it was like $15 for like 5 emails. I didn't care. I just wanted to like deliver a great result, give the business owner exactly what they wanted, do as many edits as they needed until they were happy, and make them happy. And I would get a lot of just testimonials from there. And people were liking my work, and they were saying really good things about it. And then eventually I had a client, just like all it took was just one person to like just give the head nod of like, this guy is good, and put that on social media. And then it was like from like 2K to 8K in like a month, and then from like 2K to 12K, and then 12K to 16K, and then you're doing the same thing for all those other business owners, and you're showing up like that, and like you're going above and beyond, and like now you're pushing yourself because now you have more work around you, but you learn to be efficient out of necessity. But now it's like just a force multiplier where now like you're just doing that for more and more people. And when you're working with that amount of people, like you do have to have your if you don't communicate well and you don't show up well for them, you're going to cause more problems, and those problems are going to spill over into other clients. So you really have to do that. You have to show up with that operating system, what kind of what we were talking about, and then from there it was like literally like same thing. And like I think the thing that people get like wrong is like they don't really like put themselves out there enough. Like they don't connect with enough people. They don't like have enough conversations. Like you will do well in this industry if people know you. Like that is the whole thing. If you are well known, you will do well, right? There are people with they don't post at all. Like but people know them. They just know them behind the scenes. And they are flooded with work all the time, right? The same thing. They don't do any cold outreach. That doesn't mean you don't have to do cold outreach. You don't have to post. You should do those things because it leads to people knowing you. But you have to do those actions and communicate well and like nurture relationships and just talk like an effective human being. Like just communicate well. That like yeah, people like engaging with you like they do. Because really half of the game here, you have to play the game at a high enough level. But I think a lot of people can really agree with the like, and I'm sure you'll agree with. There's not a crazy big difference between like people who are like really making a lot of money in this game and like people who are making like okay. Like the skill is honestly pretty similar, but it's like it's close, right? It's not like oh man, it's such a difference. But like, so what is the difference? Why are they like getting better fees? Why are they getting higher rates? Why are they getting more responsibility? Why are they getting all that jazz? It's because like everything we're talking about, the business owners like working with them. They are on things. They are looking after it. They're making their life easier. Like showing they like and literally actually like caring and driving their business forward, like and caring about it as much as they do, right? All of those things. So I digress, but like I kind of yeah, and like you learn to be like that. Like when you only make money when a stranger buys from you on the phone, and you kind of want to get it on the first one or two calls and like a sale, and like when you're a salesperson, you learn to really treat it like your own, like that business as your own business. And like I just the same thing. It's like no, I'm gonna treat all these businesses like they're my own. And that I can really point it literally back to that. And like with like establishing new relationships with new clients, like that shows up at your first call. Like you like just care about their business like so much, like, and you just like really like show that, and you actually have to like do care about that and just really leave with a ton of value. That's where the money comes. Like that's where it comes. It's like from it's not because you freaking shook the money out of them because you said the right things on the freaking Zoom call. Like it's not because you did the freaking phases of the call. You get the problem and the solution, and you like no, it's not at all. Like it's not, and that's what people get wrong. But I think people who do well in this game as well, the reason they do well is because they learn those things like over time. They really do learn those things. They learn like yeah, it's not all about that. It's about this. And now they operate like that, and they do very well with that, So I digress, but
no, I think that you nailed it. I mean, it's like being obsessed with your client success over closing new clients is always a priority because they're the ones that take care of you. And it's like, why would you risk a relationship with somebody who's already put their hand forward and said, hey, I want to work with you, I want to trust you? Why would you risk that relationship for somebody who's never even messaged you or even talked to you before? Which is what so many people do, right? They're like, oh, I got this guy. Let me go get this now. And it's like, this guy's got his hand out to you, reaching out. He's paying you a lot of money. He wants your help. He already trusts you. And you're giving him a half handshake back. And you're out there trying to meet other people. It's like, no, give your full attention. So that's what you did. I remember we had this back and forth. And, you trusted the process. But there were moments where you were like, should I be maybe doing a bit more outreach? Or like, should I really try and like get another client? I'm like, yeah. Sure. But first half of your day, that's your clients. Even though you're at 2K, you gotta trust the process. And some people can't do that. They cannot wait. They're like, oh no, I need a 10K. It's like you didn't. I remember you really gave them everything. You gave them everything. And that's why you became a well-known writer. And that's the thing. It's not about being the best. It's about being well-known. You don't have to be the top copywriter. You just have to be well known as a copywriter, because that's, like you said, like people need to know you exist. If you're invisible, it doesn't matter if you're a 10 out of 10 copywriter. No one knows you exist. So like they can't work with you, right? So there's that. And then I had another point I wanted to bring up. Yeah. So one thing I really liked is, and this is something I've noticed, like with you, with a few other people that I've interviewed, and a few other clients that potentially interview in the future, but it's, you get that one client that nods their head, and then the floodgates open to opportunities. And it's like, it's that one deal, and it's like, no matter what, your priority as a copywriter when you're really looking to launch your career from like, I don't know, like 1K to 5K a month, like that sort of range, you want to transition from there to the 20K, 25K, 30K world. You want to get there. You need that very, very successful person to give the head nod. And that's what it is. It's that one head nod. I got that with Dan Locke. I got that with Dan Martell, because I was writing copy for him for a while, and I got it for some less known people as well. But with all the right people, they all gave me a head nod, and like one after the other. One, like Dan Locke gave me a good head nod. So and so gave me a good head nod, and then the next guy's like, oh, you like, these people like you, okay, I can trust now. And then the next guy's like, okay, these people like you, I can trust you now. And it just kind of compounds, right? So if you're in the early days, it's like the number one priority is not about mass outreach. It's about getting that client that's worth so much that even if you don't get paid well, once they nod their head, boom, that's like a degree of this industry, that like your ticket in, right?
Yeah, it is. And like, and that can sometimes be like discouraging for some people, because they wonder like, okay, well, how do I even get in their world? How do I even get that one person anyway? But you never know how reality is going to bring that to your door. Like, and that's why you just should talk with so many people. Just network a lot. Like, just get on the phone. Like, just network with people. I'm like, when you do the social media thing, like, I just go in there and I have fun, and I just try to like just literally have fun, act a damn fool, really, really. But like it's how you never know how it's gonna show up. It might be through some way, but you have to put in those inputs, because like I remember you had said before, like there should be 5 days per year that'll like make or break your whole year. You know what I mean, right? And like you never know, but like you have to do those inputs. So like oftentimes you don't know how it's gonna come to you, but you have to just stick to it every day. Because there's going to be maybe like periods of 4 or 5 weeks where it just doesn't. And then all of a sudden, 6th, 7th week, it's just things are going left, right, and center, right? But it's not what you did those 2 weeks. It's like from something week to half of the week, like that just now something finally sparked. And it's like to get with those people, you have to just, the way I always looked at it is like, if you can just, you network with a lot of people, you will be known by a lot of people, and then you will find some way, the stars align, where like a client you would love to work with now kind of knows who you are, and you kind of know a couple people on their team, and it's just gonna like be really easy, and like it's literally, you're already at third base, just gotta take it home. It's gonna be very easy, and now you have that opportunity, and it's really there for only you to mess up at that point. You don't know how it's gonna come. It could come from like a referral. It could come from just somebody noticing what you're posting and said like, yeah, like, I really think you could use for some of my clients, like somebody like that. It could just come like that. But like, even to this day, I still have that same client I started with, and they trust me with a lot more. I had a call with them, like even just earlier this week. Been a while since we talked, as there had been a lot of shifts, and we got on the phone. I was sharing a lot of ideas, and they were like, yeah, we really needed somebody in this position. Like the stuff you're sharing is exactly what we were needing. You're filling the holes even just with the ideas you're sharing. And like, I would have never got there if I just like put my ego down and just try to be as useful as possible. Like even sometimes forgetting about the scope, to a degree, and just like, okay, like how can I pour everything into this? You know what I mean? Right. And I even have a couple clients now too. Like that's like, they've hired other copywriters, and like they even said like the stuff that those other writers were writing about were so far from like what the client themselves like believes and like stands for, and like you only get that just by giving a crap, you only get just by giving a crap, right? So it's on all those fronts. I think it really comes out. I kind of got off track there, but it's like I think that's like just it. It's the whole thing. Like business owners want people with batteries included, man. Like really, like, and that's like probably the biggest thing.
And it's not about this. I mean, it is about massive action, but it's not a numbers game in the same way. Like we're talking about like the 5 days for some people that aren't familiar with that concept. The 5 days concept is random stuff happens in life that you can't expect. Random negative things, like that could negatively affect you, and random positive things. And you just never know when that's going to happen. And if you take action and you build habits that set you up so that when those bad things happen, you get through them in one piece because you have good habits, or when the good things happen, you can see them and you can take advantage. That's where you really win. It's not about like, oh, I'm going to outreach my way to 10K. It's kind of like, I'm going to take this action because outreaching will get the attention of somebody that might change my life forever. And you only need that one person. It's not like you need 10 clients to change your life. You need one client that gives that head nod. And if it takes you a year to get that, you're set for the rest of your career. I'm still set because of the people I worked with in the first 2 years of my career. It's like just a complete game changer. And I look back, I remember like when I first went for like my very first big client, I dismissed it. I discounted myself. I was like, no, I can't do this. This is not for me. They were looking for a copywriter like 8 months, 10 months ago. It's not going to happen. They already probably found somebody for the role. There's probably 1,000 people that applied for this. No, I'm not going to make it. And I remember my friend, she said, why don't you just apply anyway? Why don't you just try? Like, what's the worst case that could happen? Like, if you don't apply, you're not going to get it. But if you do apply, you're going to get it. And it's crazy. Like that one tiny little conversation completely changed my life forever. Like just that one little thing. Because I was like, yeah, all right, you're right. Why not try? Why not give it and I didn't half-ass it, obviously. When I actually said, I'll try, I spent a whole day doing it. So yeah, okay, there's that cost of that day. And it might not have worked. It might not have worked. But I look at my life and I look back and I say, there were lots of times that it didn't work. And I just kept going until eventually it did work. So like the sales thing, I did the 250 calls. Maybe I would have become one of the top salespeople in the world. Like maybe I would have cracked that thing and I would have got some sales, and then they would have, pulled me in and said like, hey, let's do this, right? And then I might have become a really top performing salesperson. I would have broken into the industry like that. It didn't happen, but that could have been it. Or there was another time where I offered to write all this work for somebody, not for a very expensive price, and they didn't take me up. But if they'd taken me up, I would have worked with one of the biggest guys that are in the industry today. Never happened. What if? But then eventually there was a what if, and it did happen. And that was like, boom, now the career started. And it's like the same thing I see with a few other people like previously interviewed. Actually, everyone I've interviewed, it's like they got that one deal that launched their career. And you're not actually that far away from doing it. And it is that randomness, and it's those habits. And I really want to leave our viewers with that, because I think that if they remember that the game is not about this, like if you don't get results today, it's not a reflection of today. The last year of your life reflects where you are today. It's not a snapshot. It's a picture. It's not a snapshot. It's a movie. It's like every single day added together over a year. There's probably a couple of random moments in that year that'll work in your favor. Boom, you get that deal. And then that deal starts the next path forever on. So, yeah, man, I would love to, like, for everyone watching, I'd love you to share with them, like, how they can get in contact with you if they want to work with you, because you're the copy chief now, you're the copy chief. So if they want to reach out to you and talk with you and, get you to help them with some of their copy, because you're really good, where they can do that. And also, if copywriters want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Well, I think the best place, dude, is you, man. I would say the best way, but no, seriously, best place if you want to get better at copy, like, is Email Dojo. Like the feedback, like the level of feedback. I know sometimes you say, because I know you will say in the dojo, like, you will give us very detailed feedback, and you will even say, like, you don't need all this feedback, but you will give it because, like, it does really add up. Like, you didn't even have the level of feedback that you give us, right? Copy chiefs just say, no, I don't like it. And then you were like, okay, well, let me go through all the 250 words that you didn't like and figure out, like, what's wrong, right? But you actually, like, really got us. And that's how you get better fast, because then the next week you then realize, like, yeah, like, I this email's, like, all over the place, and, like, it's not, like, you're not good enough yet to, like, write for a client even, right? Like, or, like, you could take your client delivery just to the next level, like, because, like, you're taking that every week, and then, like you said before, I remember as well, like, you take your average from, like, a 5 out of 10 to, like, a 6 till everyone's, like, a 7 out of 10, like, you just raise your average, and then, like, especially with email clients, like that's when you have like really good results, right? You know, obviously. But you can find me on Facebook, or if you like, you know, we can just like talk crap, you know, or if like just like whatever, like, you know, like whatever it is about just you know, just like this networking or getting in front of just trash talk. I mean, that's really all I do anyways. You know, I don't really do much. I don't really write copy anymore. I just chief all day and just
that's it. You're at the next level now.
I'm just next level now. You know, I'm just
understand.
next level. You know, nobody would understand. You know, not even you. You know,
I know. I'm still working on it. I'm almost a chief now.
I'm just kidding.
Anyway, no, I really appreciate this. This was really, really fun, and yeah, I'm looking forward to our future chats. I know we're gonna have a couple of them in the near future as well for, you know, the dojo and also Copy Base Camp. So yeah, appreciate it. Thanks again, man. It was a fantastic chat, and yeah, see you soon. Take care.